Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and today I'm here with 3 Olympia typewriters. How I ended up with 1 Olympia typewriter, I have no idea. How I ended up with 3 sounds more like a hoarding problem. So today I took 3 typewriters from my collection that are all from the same brand, and we're going to be type testing them against each other. These are all Olympia typewriters. The Olympia brand started in 1903 in Berlin and lasted till about 1992. Olympia typewriters are considered the sports car of typewriters. And this is because they're reliable, they're hella fancy looking, and they're also great German engineering. They're good typewriters, people have a lot of good luck with them, and I'm really excited to be testing all of these typewriters against each other. However, I live in Western Pennsylvania in the boondocks, where there's nothing exciting happening, and we rarely ever have something from another country available to me, and you never run into Olympia typewriters. But every once in a while, one will pop up on Facebook Marketplace, you'll see something on eBay, or you'll find one on Goodwill auctions, and then you end up with a sports car in your collection of Royals and Smith Coronas and other typewriters. I have 21 of them, please stop me. So let's talk a little bit about these typewriters. My first Olympia typewriter was this MR12 Olympia Electric from about the 1980s. I got it in a lot of 2 typewriters and a typewriter stand on Facebook Marketplace for about $40. Now when I first got this electric typewriter, it wasn't working. And I'd never really done much repair on an electric typewriter. I've cleaned one before on this channel, but I've never gone and tried to fix it. When I opened up this typewriter, it was pretty obvious what was wrong with it. There's a drive belt inside the typewriter that moves the motor around and just helps everything move. That had been corroded and kind of eaten through and stretched out. But I learned through the internet that you can actually replace those with rubber O-rings. So I went on Amazon, bought myself a rubber O-ring, and replaced the drive belt on this Olympia typewriter, and suddenly she magically worked. So this is Nora, my Olympia electric typewriter. Then about 2 years later, I was browsing Facebook Marketplace again. Yeah, I have a problem. And I found this magical unicorn of a typewriter. A magical unicorn on Facebook Marketplace is when you find a pristine condition typewriter 10 minutes from your house for a ridiculously low price. And that's what happened when I saw this Olympia typewriter. She was 10 minutes from my house, she was in pristine condition with the original case and the original user manual, and she was $10. I was so excited. I was the first person to message the seller, and I messaged them within 20 minutes of them posting it. And within an hour, I had my first Olympia portable manual typewriter, Artemis. She is an SM9. She's about from 1971. Then about 6 months later, I was on Facebook Marketplace again. I know, it's bad. And I found another Olympia typewriter. This one again was about 10 minutes from my house, was listed for $25, and I immediately fell in love with the color of this machine. So this is my Olympia SM7 from 1963. I've named her Iris. She's this beautiful blue color. She's a little rusty in some parts, mostly around the ribbon spool covers, but overall she worked immediately, which made me really excited to add her to my collection. But it does mean now that I have 3 Olympia typewriters, and when you have more than 1 typewriter from the same brand, the only logical thing to do is host a type test. So to pit these machines against each other, I just did the standard diagnostics test that you would do on a typewriter when you see one in the wild. And that is, I hit every key on them to see how they typed. So I did all the letters, all the numbers, all the shift moves on the typewriter, and then I followed that up with the classic, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So let's go in order by year. That means I would be starting with this Olympia SM7 from 1963 named Iris. Now this typewriter is new in my collection, and at the time of the type test I had not put a new ribbon in her yet, so it's a little faded, but overall my experience typing on this machine was that it was pretty smooth. I did have to adjust the tension level to a little bit lower just to make those keys go a little bit better. Please don't make fun of my typing technique. You have no idea how hard it is to film an overhead shot and be crouched under the camera and trying to type. But overall, it was a pretty good experience. Everything worked on the typewriter. She's nice and small, easy to transport, and I was pretty happy with the results of that type test. Next, I moved on to my pristine condition SM9 typewriter Artemis, and I wanted to see how that typing experience compared between these two machines. Artemis is from 1971, and I immediately found that the typing experience was just so much smoother than on the SM7. Now that could be from adjustments and just the cleaning that I have not yet done on Iris. Overall, the mechanisms worked really well, everything moved really smoothly, and it was just a really calm typing experience. Overall, it just worked really well. A very solid typewriter if you're looking to do maybe a longer piece of work. I use this a lot for pen pal letters just because I know it's going to be so consistent. And finally, let's move to the 1980s with this MR12 electric typewriter. Now this typewriter I've repaired before with the drive belt, but every once in a while it throws me for another loop. And this time it started out typing pretty fine, pretty normal. I was typing in red because I'm dumb and didn't switch the color. So then I had to switch it, accidentally switched it to no color, and then figured out how to switch it to fully black. And when I hit the shift lock, it actually dropped the entire basket, and now the typewriter is only typing in shift. So I'm gonna have to fix it again. Overall, the experience typing on an electric typewriter is always going to be different than typing on a manual typewriter. You're going to end up with a little bit of an easier experience pressing down the keys. Felt like I was typing on an old keyboard for a big desktop computer. So it was a lot easier to press down the keys, not at all like the SM7, but the feeling on the typewriter is not going to give you that same sort of satisfaction that you might actually get from a manual typewriter. Now, I love electric typewriters and I adore my IBM Selectric typewriter Holden. I just like the experience. It is a different experience though than a manual typewriter. Obviously, there are things that I still need to repair on this typewriter and I still need to clean my SM7 a little bit more. But when you're comparing them against each other, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's going to be dependable and going to run all the time the same way, give you the same spacing on everything, a good electric that's been repaired properly can be a really good way to go. It's great for if you're writing novels and you need to sit there for a long time and work on something. I've used electrics on pen pal letters before and I've had a pretty good experience. But if you're looking for something a little bit more tactile, go with a manual typewriter and find one that you can repair or clean and get it to adjust exactly to the way you like it to type. This SM9 Artemis types fantastically. I was really happy when I first got her because she needed literally nothing. I didn't even have to change the ribbon on this typewriter to make it work. It's a great smooth typing experience. It's great for a long period of time, and overall it's just a really great typewriter. But the SM7 with a little bit of cleaning can also be a really great addition to your collection, and I think she also could be a good typewriter to use consistently, and I think with a little bit of adjustment, she would also have that great smooth typing experience. Now when you're looking at the SM collection, people do technically look down at the SM9s a little bit compared to maybe an SM3, an SM7, maybe in a different colorway people are really happy with. But I think between the two of them, one just needs a little bit more cleaning than the other, and one just happens to be a magical unicorn. If I was going to only save one, which I'll never end up doing because I'm a hoarder, I would probably have to go with, by experience alone, the SM9 typewriter. It's just so perfect. But the problem with that typewriter is how large the case is. This is the SM9 case. It's massive, and with a typewriter inside of it, it is so heavy. And this is the case for the SM7. It's two-toned, so much lighter, smaller, and easier to pack. If you're just looking at the SM9 versus the SM7, it does seem like the carriage on the SM9 is just slightly bigger than the SM7, so that is a consideration to make if you're looking for a truly portable typewriter. I don't think the SM9 is really that portable. I've moved it around a couple times. I've taken it to my tiny hobbit hole of an apartment, but I find that it is just a little bit too large compared to some of the other portables in my collection. I'd have no problem sitting this on a desk somewhere and leaving it covered, obviously, to protect it from the dust because she's perfect, but I do think that it's just not one I would be willing to travel with compared to the SM7, which is just a tiny bit more portable, easier to carry around, and definitely easier to store. Now, would I ever travel with this electric typewriter? Absolutely not. The case is also massive, but it's also so much heavier than the other two typewriters because there's a whole motor and mechanism inside of there that adds to the overall weight of this machine. So between all of these typewriters, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something to write a longer piece of work, go with an electric typewriter. If you're looking for something more aesthetically pleasing, you might want to go with the SM7. And if you're just looking for a workhorse typewriter, you might want to go with an SM9. But it all depends on the individual machine. If the SM7 was in pristine condition when I got it, I might have a very different typing experience. And right now, she's kind of my favorite because she's gorgeous and she's new. But overall in my collection, there's definitely one that performs better than the rest, and that would be my SM9. That being said, Olympia typewriters, in my experience, have been overall pretty good. I'm impressed with the engineering of them. I really love the design of these typewriters. I mean, just look at how the front casing comes off of these two portables. On the SM7, you lift the whole case off, but it comes from the top, and that just makes it look really cool. And from the SM9, I absolutely love that you can hinge the front top casing cover off. It just makes it look amazing. I actually went, ooh, when I did that the first time. That is a horrible noise. So that's been a type test of the Olympias in my collection: Iris, Artemis, and Nora. If you guys are interested in more typewriter content, there are more type tests on this channel and some other typewriter content as well, so please consider subscribing. We also have an Instagram at just.my.typewriter. I want to thank you so much for watching today, for testing your Olympias along with me, and I want to remind you, you're just my type writer.